Hi, it's Chelsea from Binge Eating Breakthrough. And what I'm sharing in this video is why I believe diets were part of the cause of my overeating or my binge eating disorder, and why I feel like they actually set us up for failure in many more ways than what we may realize at the time. So of course, with dieting, typically you're setting yourself rules about what you can or cannot eat, or good or bad foods, or how much you need to work out, or whatever. And that naturally sets you up with these parameters and this psychology of restriction. So there's things you can have or you can't have. So of course, naturally, when you're in a moment of stress, or you're feeling lonely, or you're just bored, or whatever, naturally you start to kind of think about the thing that you know you're not supposed to have or you can't have. And after you've gone for days or weeks or months kind of not having something, in a moment of weakness, you can break down and then eat too much of that thing or have the thing you said you weren't going to have. And then you beat yourself up because you just broke down and you couldn't maintain that rigid schedule. And so you try to set yourself new rules and get on the bandwagon again and get going again. I did this for probably, 16 years? And tried various things, from paleo to the 4-hour work week to Atkins to low-fat diets to low-carb diets to whatever. Been there, done that, as I'm sure you have as well. And what I realized was that it wasn't trying to find the right diet or the right things to eat that was the key to my having success with eating and feeling comfortable. It was learning how to be with food, and any food, whether it was some decadent ice cream or whether it was broccoli. Learning how to really source what I really wanted, whether it was food or whether it was a friend or whether it was a date or what it was. Learning to source what I was actually hungry for, food or not, and then learning how to find what it is I was hungry for and then answer those hungers. And if that meant having an ice cream, that meant having an ice cream. If it meant having broccoli, it meant having broccoli. If it meant having a date or getting sex, it meant having a date or getting sex. And learning how to distinguish what I was hungry for and then allowing myself to have exactly that was a huge breakthrough. The other breakthrough was learning how to overcome my urges to overeat when it became a habit. So it's kind of two parts there. There's learning how to figure out what I was really hungry for, but there was also this habit that I had developed where I was overeating every evening basically, and I was particularly overeating on sweets. Even if they were, sugar-free sweets, they were still sweets, or it was fruit, or whatever. The habit was there to overeat in the evenings. So regardless if I had any emotional stress or not, actually in times when my life was going great, I still was eating gobs of food every night. And so what I learned was that I had to learn how to be with my urges without actually caving into them. And it was literally just retraining my brain as to how to experience the urges, how to get through them, and then how to come out on the other side successful, and then being able to do that day after day after day to then form a new habit. And so I explain this process more in depth in my book, Binge Eating Breakthrough, on my website, bingeeatingbreakthrough.com. But what I want to point out is just that there's two things. There's this experience of restriction that you might be dealing with if you're someone that's dieting or have rules around food, and that could be setting you up for failure and repeated breakdowns, and then having to set new rules. And there's also just having a habit of overeating at a particular time of day or after a certain experience. Both of those can kind of work in tandem to create this relationship with food that has you feeling trapped, or like you're just weak, or God, you just can't seem to stick to a diet, or whatever it is that has you feeling frustrated with your experience with food. And so I encourage you to really look at what it is that you feel like you can't have and why, and what it is you might really want, as well as what would happen if you didn't feed your urges and you just let them pass. What would happen out of that? And I encourage you just to share your comments below or send me an email from bingeeatingbreakthrough.com. You can also check out my free course on bingeeatingbreakthrough.com, as well as my other books and programs. Thank you.